Throughout the competitive Smash Bros. Scene, Pikachu has been consistently the best character, being the only one to be at the top spot in 2 separate Smash games. His mix-up playstyle as well as amazing edge guards with outstanding recovery allows him to be viable in all Smash games. Pikachu mains have been able to keep with the character throughout the times and show the competitive scene that he is always a character to be threatened by. In this video, Pikachu's time throughout the Smash series will be looked at. Today we will be analyzing Pikachu's moves, results, strengths, and weaknesses as we take a deep dive into Pikachu as a Smash Bros. Fighter. Before this video begins, make sure to hit that bell and subscribe button to keep up to date with new and upcoming videos. I've got some really exciting videos coming up in the next few months. Also, while you're down there, write me a comment about your favorite Pikachu Smash Bros. Moment. Let me know what it is. Pikachu has been the consistent best character in the entire Smash series across all of the 5 Smash games he's been in. His small size, yet quick speed, along with strong combos, has allowed him to retain his status of an amazing character throughout the series. One of the pieces that has set Pikachu apart from the rest of the cast from the start is his recovery and offstage game. Since his recovery has always been the best, or one of the best, in the entire game, it allows him to, along with his quick aerials, spend so much time offstage to get really early kills. As for his on-stage game, Pikachu's movement and combos have been a strength of his that give him a strong advantage in these parts of the match. Using his tilts, aerials, and even specials to hold his advantage state so that he can transition into the offstage game works flawlessly with his moveset. While it is not the last thing, Pikachu's ability to control the pace of the game with his great projectile and Thunder Jolt gives him complete control of the neutral. From a combination of an amazing game in the neutral, advantage, and disadvantage state, Pikachu has really been the best character in Smash, and the only one to be the best in multiple Smash games. While Pikachu is an outstanding character, as with everyone, he does have some weaknesses to account for, despite them being much less noticeable than any other members of the Smash series. One of these that gets increasingly tougher to deal with as more long-range characters get added to the game is Pikachu's stubby moveset. Since he uses his body for most of his moves, his tilts, aerials, and smash attacks are all quite short-ranged. This does not present a huge problem since Pikachu's mobility helps him out in this regard, but it is not a great thing for Pikachu to deal with. In addition to this, the Pokemon's lightweight means that certain matchups can sometimes be tricky for him, especially against characters that are heavy, but not necessarily combo food themselves. One large hit can cause disaster for Pikachu's stocks. But honestly, that's really it. Pikachu is a really strong all-around character, and he does not have very many shortcomings other than these 2 aspects. Let's take a look to see exactly how Pikachu used these abilities to tear up the meta for the past 20 years. Right off the bat, Pikachu is the #1 character on the tier list in Smash 64, and is the second sighting of the best character in a Smash game in this series after Fox and Melee. Smash 64 highlighted all the reasons mentioned before in the strength section, as well as reducing the effects of his weaknesses. Pikachu's recovery was not only amazing on its own right, but compared to those of other characters in the game, it was meta-defining. This makes Pikachu the only character who can really go off stage and edgeguard others, and in a game with horrible recoveries for most characters, this helped Pikachu so much. He also had amazing specials in his other 2 slots, such as T-Jolt for slowing down the pace of the game, and Thunder for comboing his opponents. In the first tier list made in March of 2008, Pikachu was put at the top spot above Kirby in S tier. This not only kept increasing as Pikachu in the 3rd tier list would become so good that the community decided to give him his own tier alone at the top. But it did spark some controversy in 2017 when there was talk of banning the character. However, none of this ended up going through as some counterplay was developed to Pikachu. While he's still currently the #1 character by a decent amount, and honestly is still meta-defining, there are ways to get around his movement, combos, and edge guards that have been discovered in the years since. A majority of the top players in the game either play or have played Pikachu. The most notable of these is Kisk, who was the #1 player in the world in 2019 with the Wrap, where he won Genesis 6 and SmashCon 2019 with his Captain Falcon and Kirby as well. Other than him, top players such as Super Boom Fam, Alvin, Karopi, and Isaiah also used Pikachu. And the list goes on for a long time. Let's swap from a game to where everyone plays Pikachu, to where only one player really plays Pikachu in Melee. Since Pikachu was such a great character in Smash 64, Sakurai and the development team knew that they had to severely nerf him in the next game, Smash Melee. They did this in 3 main ways: nerfing his moves, attributes, and creating a tougher engine for Pikachu to thrive in. As for his moves, 5 of them were just completely changed outright. These being his down smash from a 2-footed kick into an electrical spin, his nair from a star kick to an aerial somersault, his bair from a back kick to a pancake spin, and finally his forward and back throw were essentially swapped in their directions. In addition, however, Pikachu did gain a side B, Skull Bash, which would help with his recovery, as well as an up throw, down throw, and pummel, as with all other characters. Other than these new moves, many of Pikachu's old moves were nerfed heavily, such as his combo starting up tilt, which could now not be used as a primary method to combo, and his down B Thunder. This move now did not have infinite vertical range, but started from a cloud above Pikachu, and therefore could not really be used to take kills off the top of the stage like in prior games. But despite all these nerfs to Pikachu in this game, Sakurai was not done, and tried to do the same to Pikachu's attributes and mechanics. Right off the bat, Pikachu's speed all around was strongly decreased. His run was significantly slower, as well as the values for his air speed and air acceleration, which were dramatically decreased, and this did not help his combo game. Finally, the third way in which Sakurai nerfed Pikachu was with the engine itself. Compared to Smash 64, there was a lot less hit stun, and therefore a lot less combo potential for slower characters, of which Pikachu now was in comparison to his previous iteration. But even though they did try to nerf Pikachu into the ground, since he was a good character at his core, he did not fall extremely far in his spot from the last game. And even in Melee's tough environment, he ended up being viable, and able to place well. This is due to his ability to L-cancel his aerials, which makes up for some of that lost speed by allowing him to have less end lag while comboing with his aerials, the primary method of which Pikachu does this. His up B, which still goes really far, now has a hitbox, and his T-jolts have less lag, so are better for forcing approaches and camping. Pikachu, despite having his lowest rankings in comparison to all of the other Smash games, he's still an amazing character in Melee. People knew Pikachu was not going to drop all the way down the tier list from the start of Melee's competitive scene, but they definitely could see the flaws in the character, and the changes that have been made from the meta-dominating powerhouse of Smash 64 to his time in Melee. As people started to play him, their opinions dropped even more, to the point where they thought he was unviable. His lack of similar combos to before, speed, and versatility on the stage just did not bode well for his early game. This led him to be ranked 13th in the first tier list behind Ganondorf and above Link. This stayed the case for a while, as his placings kind of shuffled between 13th and 17th, and even hit a low point of 18th in the 2008 June tier list. However, there was someone lurking and waiting to make a move with Pikachu, to show the scene how and why he deserved to have a viable spot on the tier list. This man was Axe, the best Pikachu player in Melee, and really the only player who represents this character at the top level. Once Axe made his appearance on the scene, the community began noticing and respecting Pikachu's game after Axe got results. He showed that Pikachu still had an outstanding recovery and it could be used for edge guarding. In a game where recoveries were not the best, Pikachu's edge guarding, just as in Smash 64, highlighted his gameplay. This is why in the 12th tier list, made in 2015, Pikachu rose and ranked in the 9th place in C tier. And Pikachu holds this position, but now in the B+ tier, currently, as the community now understands top tiers are not untouchable. As for Pikachu's results, they are really only brought about by Axe himself. Being the first and only Pikachu player to win a major, Summit 8, he has single-handedly brought Pikachu out of competitive obscurity in Melee and into the spotlight. He usually will make top 8 in tournaments that he places in, or just miss out of it. Axe is almost a single character specialist, not switching off Pikachu unless to play against Hungrybox's Jigglypuff. However, while I could talk about Axe's achievements all day, there are a few other Pikachu players, such as the old player Pikachu, Swift, and OKP, with wins over top 100 players as well. From Melee to Brawl, Pikachu actually got a lot better, a shocking turn of events from what is typical for characters in this series. This was from both move fixes, a huge range increase, and engine assists. As for his moves, Pikachu's spinning back air is the exact same move animation, but now becomes a multi-hit, which allows for more combos for the electric rat. The only other change was in a similar vein, but it was a nerf, as Pikachu lost the semi-spiking hitbox on his up air that used to be used as an edge guarding tool in the old game. Despite those being the only major move alterations, Pikachu, as noted before, got a buff in his range, stemming from a longer tail and his quick attack cancelling, which made being in the area around Pikachu dangerous, with his up B's disruptive hitbox, quick speed, and low end lag. Finally, Pikachu also gained a chain grab in this game, by using his down throw and occasional forward throws. This allows him to keep the oppressive advantage while keeping a strong disadvantage with hit stun cancelling and his top tier recovery. As for some global changes, Pikachu really benefited from Brawl's engine, and was a huge reason for the increase in positioning in the tier list. This stemmed from both the engine itself, but also the types of characters that were in the top tier that Pikachu had to play against loads of times. In Melee, Fox and Falco's speed contested with Pikachu's, and really stressed Pikachu's worst part of the game. There's neutral. This was the same with the other top characters in Melee in their own ways. However, in Brawl, where neutral is the primary method of gameplay, all characters rely more on zoning and camping to play their games, and while this is not amazing for Pikachu, they do not have the best advantage states nor disadvantage states, unlike Pikachu. Therefore, once Pikachu is able to get in using his superior movement, he can milk the other character's poor disadvantage and get stocks easily. This is why he is winning matches from the top tiers such as Snake and Falco, as they are the pinnacle of these archetypes of the characters. This also lets him go even with Meta Knight, but this will be discussed more in the next section. Initially, Pikachu was not seen as a viable character from his stubby range, but as time went on, this quickly started to change. Once the competitive scene really picked up, Pikachu's strong mobility, advantage state, and intricate techniques were seen on full display. This allowed Pikachu to start off in 12th place in the first tier list out of the entire roster of 37. He placed in high tier between the both extremely undervalued Diddy Kong and Ice Climbers. While he started off strong for the third game, this only improved over time, and this was thanks to Esam. As he started playing the character, he began to discover some of the different techniques that were quite useful for the character. He got Pikachu up to 9th spot on the 3rd tier list, which was made in June of 2009, where Pikachu ranked in the A tier between Mr. Game & Watch and Olimar. Esam's continual grinding and top placings allowed him and helped to increase Pikachu's rankings, and this made him improve even further towards the end of Brawl's life cycle. At the final tier list, Pikachu ranked 8th overall, at the top of Brawl's B tier. This was due to his incredible matchup spread. He has no -3 matchups, and his only -2 is against Olimar. As stated before, his even matchup against Meta Knight is another huge reason as to why he has such high placings on the tier list, despite not too much representation at all. Obviously, Esam is the top tier representative for the character. He was easily considered the best Pikachu in the game from 2010 to 2014. He plays super well at tons of tournaments for years. However, he will come back into future games. So other than Esam, players such as Anther, Gunner Maniac, and Z also played well with Pikachu. Now on to Smash 4, where Pikachu just increased in skill as a character. Between Brawl and Smash 4, the development team figured that they'd created Pikachu exactly how they wanted him to be, and this resulted in no moveset changes for the Yellow Rat. Despite all of his moves being kept the same, there were a few slight alterations, and a few moves that accounted for slight differences between a 3rd and 4th iteration as a Smash Bros. Character. From his status in Brawl, the lack of move changes accounted for an overall nerf in the character, from the competitive scene's opinion. But this did not mean that he received no buffs from the change. These included attributes such as his increased strength in some of his killing moves, such as his F and up smash, and furthermore the removal of hit stun cancelling, which helped out Pikachu more than the average character as someone who has his fair share of combos. Also, the redefining of the Smash engine to help multi-hit moves connect better certainly helped Pikachu with his forward and back air, which are essential for his combo games. But even with these buffs, Pikachu's nerfs in both direct attribute changes and engine changes did not help the character in coming close to his #1 spot as in Smash 64. One of the largest nerfs that Pikachu got in the game swap was the loss of his chain grab. While this mechanic was removed for all characters, Pikachu really used this to help keep himself up with some of the top tiers in the past game, and assisted him with his combo gameplay, while giving him a strong reward for finally converting the neutral to the advantage state. The next nerfs, which were probably the most severe, was the loss of edge guarding as a prominent mechanic in Smash 4. Due to the engine, so many characters had much better recoveries than before, and it caused the competitive scene to put much less of an emphasis on edge guarding as a game priority. As Pikachu is one of the best edge guarders in the series, limiting this attribute hurt him all around, much more than the average character, and took away a huge advantage that he had over the rest of the cast. Finally, for the moves themselves, Pikachu lost range relative to the rest of the cast, damage output for his combos, and quick attack canceling. While individually each of these nerfs would not seem horrible, together they pushed Pikachu down significantly, and gave him potentially his worst ranking in the series, which still meant he was a really solid overall character. Having a character specialist really helps boost a character's perceived potential at the beginning of a new game's competitive life cycle, and this is not any more apparent than with Isam and Pikachu at the start of Smash 4. Right off the bat, Pikachu is seen as a great character, as Isam, who already knew the character, along with the fact that there was not too many changes between Pikachu's Brawl and Smash 4 appearances, started placing really well at tournaments, as other players struggled to learn new mechanics and relearn their old mains. This gave Pikachu a 5th place ranking in the first tier list created in February of 2016. He was placed in the A tier under Ryu and above Sonic. However, after this tier list was released, there was a quick debate over if Pikachu actually deserved this placing. Isam was the only player really getting results with his character, and many players started to understand the nerfs that the character received from Brawl, such as his shortened range, lack of KO power, removal of quick attack canceling, and the diminished focus on edge guarding. This caused an almost immediate drop in the perception of the character, and it can easily be seen in the next tier list where he immediately dropped to 12th place a few months later, at the top of B tier. He was certainly not a bad character by any means, but with the data that the community saw over time, his B tier placing was much more suited for the Rat's skill than the 5th best in the game, especially with Bayonetta and Corrin's release. But this sentiment did not stop there. As the meta evolved through the many years, Isam's placing worsened, and there was a steady rise in Pikachu's bad matchups such as Mario and Ness, which made it a lot harder for Pikachu players to compete like they did before. Pikachu ended the final tier list at 15th between Lucina and Meta Knight in the B tier, a much more suitable spot for the character. Just as with Brawl, Isam was Pikachu's major player, and ranked 17th best in the world. He used him to get placings such as a second at Shine 2016 at the Big House 8, along with a 3rd, 5th, and 7th at other major tournaments. But unlike Brawl, there were actually some other Pikachu players that came to rise with the game as well. Captain L, the 79th best player in the world, put in the work with the character and had wins over MKLeo, Tweak, and Mr. R. Other than those two ranked players, Ride and Kishiru also placed well with Pikachu. But as Smash 4 died with the announcement of Smash Ultimate, Pikachu would take his time in Smash full circle as contending for the #1 spot in the game again in the newest installment of the series. Finally in Smash Ultimate, Pikachu regained his throne of being one of the best, if not the best character in the game. But how exactly did he go from Smash 4's placing to his top tier placing in Ultimate? Well, while it was not exactly from move changes, as there was only one, this did play a small role. His Nair changed from flips in the air to an electrical shock around him, which is now a multi-hit move used for drag down comboing. This move is great for low percent combos and transitioning into mid percent ones, being much more useful than its Smash 4 counterpart. Other than that, Pikachu received a small red arrow on the startup of his up B, which allowed the player to better recognize the direction in which they are sending Pikachu. Finally, while it's not a moveset change, Pikachu's pancaking really became a serious factor in his matches. When landing on the ground, Pikachu smushes into the ground and is able to low profile a ton of moves in the game. This gives him much more defensive options as he's able to pressure the opponent, and sometimes that means that moves that are typically unsafe become safe with this mechanic. Outside of direct move changes, Pikachu had a major increase in speed and a major end lag reduction. His speed value increased by 10%, which is a huge amount, especially for a character that had been seemingly perfected from the no changes from Brawl to Smash 4. Along with the universal end lag reduction for aerials, Pikachu received an additional reduction on all of his moves as well. This meant that Pikachu turned back into a comboing powerhouse as he was in the first game. He can combo back air multiple times, and along with this now killing forward air, makes him a really great edge guarder. His nair, up tilt, and down throw give him simple and fairly easy lightning loop combos to take opponents from 0 to 60%. His T-jolts are amazing for camping and make him a mix-up character. His thunder kills at really low percents, especially from an up throw. His KO power on his smash attacks has exponentially increased, and his dash attack is now a really solid killing option. Overall, Pikachu is super strong in this game, and puts himself back in contention as one of the best characters in the game. Right off the bat, the community knew that Pikachu was going to be a great character. The changes from the already high-tiered character in Smash 4 just meant that he was going to be a real force to be reckoned with. Despite Esam, at the start of the game, still being the only top-tier representative of the character, the community understood how good he was. Prior to any DLC coming out, he was almost unanimously the best character in the game, and held that spot for a while. Once Joker came out and MKLeo started really doing well with the character, things became a little more contentious, as people would rank Pikachu and Joker in the top 2 slots. While Pikachu was definitely favored as being the better character, it was not unanimous as before. This trend continued for a while, and each time people thought that Pikachu was slipping, Esam would come out of nowhere, win a major, and put Pikachu's status back as best in the game. This continued for a while until the release of Fighters Pass 2, which saw the release of Steve and Pyra and Mythra. Before Steve's rise to power, there was a 3-way race for the best character between Pikachu, Joker, and now Pyra and Mythra. However, in the past 6 months, Pyra and Mythra's best in the game status died down, and was quickly replaced and even exceeded by Steve. Currently, Pikachu is in the top 3 in almost everyone's opinion, but he is losing his edge, along with Joker, to Steve. In my opinion, he still holds the title of number 1 in the game, but that's quickly slipping. As for results, unlike the other Smash games past Brawl, while Esam is still the Pikachu rep, there are a lot more players of the character, and this finally makes Pikachu's results section a little more entertaining, though. Esam is still the Pikachu player, and his wins over Tweak, MKLeo, and tons more top players. He boasts wins at Glitch 7, Glitch 8.5 Konami Code, as well as a 3rd at Glitch 8, and a 4th at Genesis 7. Other than that, however, Shiny Mark is another player that dominates with this character, with wins over Waddy and Siski, and placings at Smash Factor 9, with a 5th and a 7th at Smash World Tour Central America Regional. Other players such as Kishiru from Japan and Neros from France are up there as well. In his time in the Smash Bros. Series, Pikachu has been the single most dominant character, being the only character in the series to hold the top spot in 2 games at once. In Smash 64, Pikachu was immediately the best character in the game, with his crazy combos and excellent recovery. In Melee, Pikachu was a fringe viable character until Axe took him to higher heights with his top-tier gameplay. In Brawl, Pikachu uses amazing matchups against some of the top tiers, and even his one against Meta Knight, to keep him in the competitive scene. Smash 4 Pikachu was the worst of the bunch, but Esam kept him alive. Finally, Pikachu regained his top-tier status in Ultimate, where he became the potential best character in the game. Overall, with these rankings, Pikachu is the best overall Smash character, and his results and tier list placings show why this is the case.